फिर पिस्तौल मारो, ठीक है? सीधा करो जैसे पॉइंट करते आप सिखाऊंगा।
The video includes camouflage and stealth. Scaling mountains. Subduing enemies. Murdering guards. Hijacking cars and kidnapping. Weapons training. Sheikh Jilani can be seen here not only supervising the training, but firing an automatic weapon. Members are also trained in setting off explosives.
You know, and they have put in. Will get it on the other side. Ring me. मतलब C4 नहीं है, C3 है. देते हैं आपके सामने उधर नहीं किया था, पीछे देख कर.
The terrorist tape on behalf of Muslims of America instructs Jilani's followers in the United States, act like you are a friend and then kill him, just like from the book. Sheikh Jilani first arrived in the United States in the early 1980s. He began recruiting American Muslims into his terrorist organization at a retreat in upstate New York. He then began preaching and recruiting at the Al Farouk Mosque in Brooklyn, which law enforcement authorities call the Brooklyn Jihad Office because of its reputation of converting American Muslims into a holy war against perceived infidels. While Jilani was recruiting American Muslims to fight in the holy war against the Soviets in Afghanistan, he also began establishing terrorist training camps inside the United States. CP, who requested to remain anonymous, is one of the country's foremost authorities on Sheikh Jilani's terrorist organization known as Jamaat al-Fukra in Pakistan, but Muslims of America in the United States.
This organization has actual terrorist training camps that have existed in this country for 20 years. They have carried out bombings, targeted assassinations, they've run drugs, guns, had fraud schemes, and they have terrorist connections. These locations can be used to launch attacks, surveillance operations, safe houses, weapons depots, various things, and they have been used as such.
Few Americans had ever heard of this Islamic Pakistani terrorist Sheikh Jilani until the year 2002. That's when Wall Street Journal reporter Daniel Pearl was kidnapped and later beheaded after attempting to arrange an interview with the militant sheikh at a hotel in Pakistan. Daniel Pearl wanted to question Jilani about his connections to shoe bomber Richard Reed, who attempted to use a chemical substance to blow up American Airlines Flight 63 from Paris to Miami in December 2001. It was alleged by U.S. officials that Reed was one of Sheikh Jilani's followers. Publicly, Sheikh Jilani denies having any responsibility for Daniel Pearl's kidnapping or execution. But if he was responsible, he clearly gives motive for wanting Daniel Pearl dead. On his website, Sheikh Jilani states that Daniel Pearl was part of a government conspiracy. Obviously, Daniel Pearl was to target me, and then an assassination team would be sent in to kill me. Sheikh Mubarak Ali Jilani.
We all remember the horrific incident where Daniel Pearl, the Wall Street Journal reporter, was kidnapped and then executed and beheaded on film, and was shown around the world, and everybody was horrified by that. Well, he was set up in Pakistan, and he was on his way to meet Jilani. And the whole thing was a setup, and I believe very strongly that Jilani was an integral part of the bait in order to isolate and capture Daniel Pearl, and is in his large part responsible for what happened to him. Now, if that's not terrorism, what is? Because of its connections directly into Pakistan, because of its connections with Sheikh Jilani, I think he clearly qualifies as a supporter or sympathizer of terrorism. And by extrapolation, direct extrapolation, then any organization that he creates or controls should also be considered a terrorist entity.
In 2006, the Regional Organized Crime Information Center issued a report funded by the U.S. Department of Justice. The report, marked restricted to law enforcement, exposed how Jilani's followers were conducting paramilitary training inside the United States. Over the past 2 decades, a terrorist group known as Jamaat al-Fukra, the report states, has been linked to multiple murders, bombings, and various other felonies throughout the United States and Canada. Jilani is now known as an international terrorist, claims the Regional Organized Crime Information Center. He controls more than 35 suspected communes and more than 3,000 members spread across the United States. The communes have one goal: the purification of Islam through violence. In the highly critical law enforcement report, the Regional Organized Crime Information Center says Jilani considers all those who do not follow the tenets of Islam to be his enemies. That members of Jamaat al-Fukra are known to be Islamic extremists. That his American communes are classically structured terrorist cells. And that Jilani primarily targets American Muslim converts, mostly those with criminal backgrounds. The law enforcement report clearly links Jamaat al-Fukra to terrorism. It states at least a dozen Jamaat al-Fukra members have been convicted for terrorist activities, including conspiracy to commit murder, firebombing, and gun smuggling. Jamaat al-Fukra members are also suspected in 10 unsolved assassinations and 17 firebombings that have occurred since 1980. Jamaat al-Fukra operated for over a decade in the United States before law enforcement became aware of their terrorist activity or their Islamic guerrilla warfare training camps. But that changed in 1991 with the discovery of a Jamaat al-Fukra terrorist camp in Buena Vista, Colorado, known as Muhammad Commandos of Sector 5.
In approximately February 1991, an FBI agent came to my office located in Denver, Colorado. At that point, the agent wanted to meet with my director, and he told me, and he told the director of my agency, that these people were allegedly terrorists. And they were of a group called the Fukra, and they actually were led by a man out of Lahore, Pakistan.